if you are ready to work on your cover, this next step is just as fun, just as easy. We're going to be using the placemats from Dollar Tree, or at least I will in this tutorial. You can use any material you want, although if you are going to be using something like leather or faux leather, something that is, a little bit more effort to put into it, I recommend making a few using something cheaper first. You can even just take a piece of paper just to go through the steps and get the hang of it before you, commit to making the actual cover. So what I have here, it was another placemat from Dollar Tree, and I grabbed this because it made me think of my ex-husband's new wife. I get along with her, not with him, but I get along with her, and she likes, this print and pink together. So I thought it might be fun to take a piece of pink scrapbook paper and glue it to the back. And then she'd have, with most of these, if you don't do this, you're going to have a white inside using the placemat. But I wanted to try gluing some pink scrapbook paper down. And there's a little, it was my first attempt at it. There's a little bubbling, but that's okay. This is cut down to I think it's 11 by 11, just to seal off the edges when I glued it down. And this should be the right size for me to measure for a field note size. Now, again, in the sheet, you have another cheat sheet on how to make your cover. Please download this so you have, a piece of paper next to you when you work on this. The measurements that you want should be about a ½ inch taller than the height of your signatures. And you'll want it a little bit longer than the length. How much longer is really going to depend on how many signatures you have. So I will make a few more signatures to go in this for, as well as some folders and other inserts. And for this, I'm going to say, actually, let me see. Okay. So let's see. I know I'm going to want this. Oh, we'll say about 6 inches tall, because this is 5½ inches tall. So I'm going to get my handy dandy cutting board out. And I am going to mark at 6 inches tall. And then I'm going to get my handy dandy paper cutter. And I'm going to just cut right where I made the mark. Make sure it's nice and straight. Obviously, I can save this for another cover too. And then I'm going to take these and I'm going to put these right in the middle, and I'm going to wrap this around, and you can see how much overhang there is. You don't want that much overhang. I will want a little bit of space to allow more signatures though. So I'm going to say, instead of 7 inches, I'm going to cut this down to 8. And I may cut more off, but it's good to go a little bit higher at first, and then you can see how it feels. So let me take my pencil again. And again, you can do this with a ruler if you prefer, but I have these tools and it just makes the job so much easier. So I've marked this at 8. And I will cut this down at 8. So I've added an inch to the length of the journals. And it has a nice snug fit like so, with enough room to add more. I think this is the perfect size for the cover. So now this next step is where you add your holes. So on your cheat sheet, you have this little pattern that shows you where each hole should go. It's just a guideline, and I tend to eyeball as far as measuring based on the cover size where each of the holes should go. One is definitely going to go right in the middle, but then you're going to have 4 more holes. You're going to have 2 at the top and 2 at the bottom. Now for me, I tend to eyeball this. I've made so many of them, but if you need a more specific measurement, in general, I say that the top and bottom holes should be about 1/8 of an inch, down from the top or up from the bottom. And they should be about 1/4 of an inch apart. So let's just get into that. Now this is where you can use your awl. And if you're using an awl, you'll want to take a piece of cardboard to stick underneath and protect your surface. And you're just going to poke a hole through. I'm not going to use this because, again, I like to use my easy tools. So I'm going to use my screw punch, and I'm going to use a piece of chipboard to protect my surface, and I'm going to start with the hole right in the middle, and it's okay if it's not measured and you're a little bit up. It just needs to be in the middle. And then I'm going to add a hole here, a hole here, a hole here, and a hole here. And so this next step is where we're going to thread your cord through the cover. So I'm going to cut off 2 pieces of cord. It's a little bit twisty. Now this is still thinner than the 2mm cord that I got on Amazon, but it's durable enough. And this was 97 cents at Walmart, so this is a good one to start with. It's not too thin like what you get at Dollar Tree, so it's probably the right size to start with. And as you make more of these, you'll probably want something a little bit thicker. So for the first piece of cord, I'm going to measure about 1.5 to 2 times the height. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's how I do it. And then I take my scissors and I cut. So that's one piece. And now for the other one, I'm going to want to measure a piece that wraps comfortably around with a little bit extra so I have room to play around with it. Like so. So you're going to take, we're going to do the easy one first. It doesn't really matter which order you do this in. You're going to take the longer cord and you're going to thread it through the top hole, and then the other end goes through the bottom hole. And you just pull these out like so. You may have to adjust it to make sure they're the same length. And then you're going to take both ends and you're going to go loop it back through like so. And this is going to go back around like so. And you're going to pull this tight, not too tight, but not too loose. And then you're going to double knot this. Like so. And then you're just going to cut your ends off. And there you go. Now this next one, the shorter piece, you're going to stick both ends through this middle hole from the outside. And this part right here is why I love my Japanese screw punch, because if you're using an awl, you're going to have a smaller hole, and it's going to be a lot more work trying to get both ends through that hole. So I'm going to grab both of these ends and try to hold these in place. You can use a piece of tape if you want, but I like to hold them so I can feel how much pull there is. While you're holding them, you're going to want to wrap this around just to make sure there's enough. It's taut enough, but it's not too loose. So this is about the right length I want. And I'm going to undo that. And then I'm going to double knot this. And since I do have a wider hole, I want to knot it a couple times because I want to make sure that the knot's not going to slip back through the hole. And another way you can make sure that doesn't happen is to use a button before you tie a knot. So I have this tied, but before I cut the ends, I just want to go back through and make sure that that is the right fit, and that's perfect. So I'm going to open this again, and I'm going to cut the ends off. And now you have the cover for your book. Voila! I hope this video inspires you to be creative and have fun. If you enjoyed it, please give it a thumbs up. Thanks for watching.